Good morning, manifestors. You've already tried affirmations. You've visualized. You've thought positive, even when the bills didn't add up. And your financial life is still sitting in the exact same place. That doesn't mean you did it wrong. It means nobody ever explained what actually needs to change. We call it quantum change, but forget the fancy name for a second. It's not magic, it's not lab physics. It's not some phenomenon coming from outside to save you. It's simply you becoming a different person on the inside, in the way you see yourself, in what you believe is true, in the frequency your body carries. And when that shifts for real, the world around you starts reflecting that new version of you. There's a rule behind this that most people never stop to notice. Reality works like an immediate mirror of the dominant vibration inside you. Who you are on the inside today, right now, is exactly what shows up on the outside, in your bank account, in your opportunities, in the doors that open or stay locked. And this is where most people get it wrong without even realizing it. You're standing in front of the mirror trying to change the image, without seeing that the problem was never the image. The problem is who's standing in front of the mirror. And that's exactly what we're going to break down right now. I know you've heard about frequency, vibration, energy. But nobody ever showed you how that actually connects to your real life, to the bank account, to the opportunity that never shows up, to the door that always seems closed for you. So let me show you the full mechanism, because it doesn't work in separate steps. It all happens at once. When you shift your identity, your beliefs, and your frequency at the same time, the reality around you starts to follow. Who you believe you are determines what you emit. And what you emit is exactly what reality sends back to you. There's no mystery in that. It's just a direct consequence of who you're being on the inside right now. Neville Goddard called this the law of assumption. When you assume on the inside that something is already true, not pretending, actually assuming it, your subconscious starts reorganizing your life to align with that assumption. It's a practical principle, not a mystical theory to make things sound pretty. And here's the part almost nobody tells you. The one carrying that frequency isn't just your mind, it's your body. A nervous system running on alert, anxious, living in fear, sends out the signal of survival. And it attracts exactly more scarcity to deal with. Real internal security opens space for expansion. The body doesn't lie. And that's exactly the point most people ignore. Joe Dispenza has shown this in practice. Changing your thoughts and emotions produces a real effect on the external world. You stop being a victim of circumstances and start being the one who creates them. But only if the body also shifts out of the old state. Not just the mind. Think about someone who repeats, "I am wealthy every single day," but lives with their whole body in financial alert. Avoids investing. Scared to ask for what they deserve. Losing sleep over bills. That person isn't emitting abundance. They're carrying fear with a nice phrase on top of it. And that's why the change seems instant when it finally happens for real. Reality is an immediate mirror. When your internal frequency actually shifts, the reflection shifts with it, fast. The delay was never out there in reality. The delay has always been in changing the frequency in here. Now that you understand the mechanism, there's a question almost nobody asks themselves. What kind of change are you actually practicing? Because there are two very different paths. And most people spend years walking one thinking they're on the other. There's superficial change. Organizing your finances, doing affirmations, visualizing results, without ever touching who you are on the inside. It's like changing your clothes without changing the person wearing them. On the outside, it looks like progress. On the inside, the fear and the sense of lack are sitting in the exact same place. And then there's deep change, which is something else entirely. You assume on the inside, "I already am." And you start living from that truth before any result shows up. It's not pretending, it's recognizing who you choose to be right now. Before reality confirms anything. This has a name. The law of attraction keeps you in a place of lack because it treats what you want as something distant that needs to be pulled in from outside. The law of assumption puts you in a state of immediate possession. You're not waiting for anything to arrive, because as far as you're concerned, it already has. Neither one is wrong, but only one actually shifts the frequency you're emitting right now. And it's that frequency that determines the result. An internal state of scarcity generates a reality of scarcity. An internal state of abundance generates a reality of expansion. Reality doesn't choose anything. It just reflects back what you're being. Real change isn't adding something new to a life that stays the same. It's becoming a different person. And the new life follows as a consequence of that, not as a separate goal. Now that you know the difference between superficial change and deep change, I need to tell you something that's hard to hear. The most common mistakes about quantum change don't live in the techniques you use. They live in how you understand what those techniques actually do. Some people think positive thinking alone changes reality. Conscious thought by itself doesn't shift your body's frequency. It's the identity you carry and the dominant emotional state that determine what you transmit, not the isolated thought passing through your head in the morning. Some people think affirmations and visualization always work, no matter the conditions. They do work, but only when they come with a real shift in identity and frequency, when your body is still living in the old state. The affirmation is just conscious noise floating over a transmitter that's locked into a completely different station. Some people think quantum change is an external phenomenon, almost magical, coming from outside to rescue them. It's not. It's an internal leap of consciousness. Nothing arrives from outside without something shifting on the inside first. And there's one more, maybe the most silent mistake of all. Some people believe they need to attract something that's far away. That mindset keeps what you want always one step out of reach, never actually yours. The problem was never that you were doing it wrong. It's that you're still living in the old state. And when that state shifts, you don't have to force anything anymore. So let me tell you the approach that actually works. Because it's not one more technique to add to your routine. Most people don't realize they're still feeding the same old story, telling themselves the same lines on repeat. I've always had too little. Money is hard for me. I'm just not the type who prospers. And every time you repeat that story, you're reinforcing the exact frequency that generates the reality you say you hate. The way out isn't convincing reality of anything. It's tuning into the frequency of someone who already lives what you want. Picture someone who gets a better job offer, and instead of questioning whether they deserve it, simply accepts it as something natural. Because on the inside, they already live as someone who gets treated that way. There's no effort of attraction in that, because it's not about pulling something in from outside. It's about a state of possession. You already are, and everything else organizes itself around that. Neville Goddard called this audacity. Assuming on the inside has already settled truth, who you choose to be, without asking reality for permission. To accept is to create. Joe Dispenza went in the same direction when he taught that the interior needs to become more real than the exterior. He encouraged mentally rehearsing the scene, living on the inside as if it had already happened, until the brain and body actually entered that new state. That's not delusion, that's identity training. And here's the distinction that changes everything. The effort was never in attracting something from outside. It's in sustaining the new state on the inside while reality hasn't changed yet. That is the real work. The only work that actually matters. You don't need to change your life to become a new person. You need to become a new person for your life to change. Sustaining that new state day after day is the part that trips most people up. And that's exactly what the Channels ebook goes deep on, with exercises to identify the old story and step out of scarcity patterns, one step at a time. I use parts of those exercises in my own routine, because this is daily work, not a one-time event. The link is in the description. Check it out and see if it feels right for you. Now come back with me, because the next step is putting all of this into practice. If you've never done any of this before, you don't need to start by changing the world. The first step is just identifying which old story you're still telling yourself. And we can do that today, without needing anything besides a piece of paper and a few minutes. Grab that paper and write down, without filtering it, the phrases that come to mind about money, prosperity, and worthiness. Things like, there's never enough left over. money is for other people. I wasn't born for this. Don't judge what comes out. Just write it down, then ask yourself where each phrase came from. Did you actually discover this on your own, or did someone teach you to be afraid? Just that recognition creates distance between you and the belief, because it stops looking like a fact and starts looking like a story someone told you. And then comes the question that actually breaks the cycle. Is this an absolute truth or just something you learn to believe? It doesn't solve everything at once, but it opens a crack where before there was only certainty. To close, take 5 minutes and breathe slowly and intentionally. It doesn't have to be advanced meditation. It's just a pause to calm your nervous system down. A body out of alert mode is already a different frequency, and that's where the next shift begins. If you've already moved past the basics and want to go deeper, we need to talk about mental rehearsal. And no, this is not about visualizing the new car or the full bank account. It's about mentally practicing who you're becoming, living on the inside as that new person would, before any real situation puts it to the test. In practice, that means rehearsing on the inside what it feels like to name your price without fear, to make a financial decision without your hands shaking, to talk about money without that knot in your chest. It sounds simple, but your brain doesn't do a very good job distinguishing an imagined experience with strong emotion from a real one. And that's exactly what makes this rehearsal work. One way to sustain this every day is to start your morning with 20 to 30 minutes of deep breathing and attention to your own body, noticing where tension is still being held. It's not a mandatory spiritual ritual. It's frequency training. The same way an athlete trains the body, you train the state you carry through the entire day. And there's one detail that changes everything. Intention without emotion is just an idea sitting on paper. Intention gives you the direction, but elevated emotion is what gives the signal its force. Combining clarity about who you want to be with the feeling of already being that person is what takes mental rehearsal out of imagination and turns it into actual identity. So start living in the small decisions of your day as the person who's already in the new reality, in your tone of voice, in how you talk about yourself, before reality confirms a single thing. That's essentially what Joe Dispenza spent his whole career showing. What you repeat on the inside, with conviction, ends up becoming what you live on the outside. Before you go and practice any of this, I need to protect you from some traps that sabotage the process without you ever seeing them coming. None of them have to do with getting the technique wrong. All of them have to do with the state you're still living in. First, anxiety about results. When you feel anxious waiting to see the money show up, that anxiety itself is a sign you're still living in a state of lack. Anxiety about not having money is by itself a frequency of not having money. When the state genuinely shifts, the urgency stops making sense, because you already feel like you are who you wanted to be. Second, living only in your head. Thinking differently without regulating your body doesn't change anything for real, because it's the nervous system on alert that keeps broadcasting survival. The mind alone can hold the idea for a while, but it can't sustain a new state if the body never leaves the old one. Third, the self-sabotage you don't even see. You attract a great opportunity and, without understanding why, you pull away from it. You get a raise and spend it all too fast. You feel like you don't deserve what's coming in. That's the fear of gaining, outweighing the desire to prosper, operating well below your conscious awareness. And fourth, inconsistency. Practicing the new state for 3 days and then slipping back into the old state for 10 builds nothing, because the process only compounds when the state is sustained, not when it's just visited every now and then. If you want to keep going after this video, let me quickly tell you what I actually use. No tool does the work for you. They just reduce the distance between who you are now and who you're becoming. Joe Dispenza's guided meditations are the easiest entry point for training that new state, because they're already structured. You don't have to figure anything out. Before any identity practice, it's worth building the foundation with 5 to 10 minutes of daily breathing. It's the kind of simple thing that holds everything else together. If you want to go deeper into the theory, Neville Goddard's books, especially The Power of Awareness and Feeling is the Secret, explain the law of assumption with a depth that no single video can cover. And of course, the channel's ebook remains the most direct resource with the practical exercises we've mentioned throughout this video. Now let me be honest with you about something. The change can feel instant, because reality is an immediate mirror, but the process of shifting who you are on the inside is not instant. And that's not a failure. That's just how it actually works. The real signs of progress show up before the external result does. You start feeling less anxiety when you look at your account balance. You make a financial decision without that pressure in your chest. You stop self-sabotaging without even realizing you were doing it before. That is the change happening. Even if the numbers haven't moved yet, with consistent practice, you'll feel a difference on the inside within 3 to 6 weeks. Concrete external results tend to take months. That's not a promise, it's honesty. And that's exactly what keeps you steady, not less motivated. Now you understand the what and the why. What's left is a clear path so you don't lose the thread once this video ends. And this path isn't about forcing anything. It's about creating the conditions where the change happens naturally, because the new state has become your normal state. Start by identifying the old story you're still telling yourself about money and prosperity. Then question each belief. Is this a fact or just something someone taught you to believe? From there, set aside 10 to 20 minutes a day to mentally rehearse the behaviors of the new version of you. Add 5 to 20 minutes of breathing to that, regulating your nervous system before the day begins. And in the small decisions of your daily life, act from that new identity, without waiting for reality to confirm anything first. What matters most here is consistency, not intensity. 20 minutes a day for 30 days is worth far more than 3 solid hours in a single day, followed by giving up the next week. And if you want support to sustain this, the channel's ebook is right there in the description with the exercises we covered today. Now tell me in the comments, what do you still believe about money that might not actually be yours? Subscribe, because this channel brings this kind of thing straight and without filler every time a new video drops. And if this video made sense to you, send it to someone who needs to hear it today. If you made it this far, you didn't walk away from this video with just another piece of information. You walked away understanding the real mechanism behind quantum change, the mistakes that stall the process, and the plan for getting out of where you are right now. That's already more than most people have after years of trying on their own. And if you want to apply this at a deeper level, the channel's ebook is still in the description. It's not just theory. It's the material with guided exercises for each step we covered today, built for anyone who wants to go beyond what fits in a single video. Tell me in the comments, which one of those mistakes I mentioned was exactly yours? Subscribe, because 3 times a week we break down one of these mechanisms. No fluff and no forced mystery. Send this video to someone who's still doing it the old way. And if you want to keep this shift going, the next video takes you straight to the next step. I'll see you there.